interrogate the suspects. However, in this interview session, each suspect only has to answer one question. So once one of the teams has questioned a suspect, that suspect can't be asked any further questions until the next round of our investigations. OK, is that clear? Now, to decide who goes first, Tony and Fiona. In the drawing room, what colour was the lampshade on the drinks table?
Pink. Oh, I've made a mistake.
Blue.
Oh.
Trudy and Leslie.
Blue.
You were right.
You were right, yes.
You have a chance then to interrogate one of the suspects. But before you start, I have to say one more thing. 5 of these suspects have to tell the truth. Only the murderer can lie.
Right, I would like to ask Colonel Mustard a question, please. I'd like to know where you were going when Mr. Forrest and Mrs. Peacock were talking in the drawing room. You passed by in the background. Where
Yes,
were you?
I believe I did. I was doing the quiz. I couldn't hear a word they were talking about.
Tony and Fiona.
I'd like to ask Professor Plum. He was accused of plagiarising one of his students' work. Was that student Richard Forrest?
No, the student was a young lady. It was all dealt with quite happily within the college, and she, in fact, was sent down for possessing illegal substances.
I gather it's quite common, too, in the academic world. Trudy and Leslie, to another suspect, please.
I'd like to ask Mrs. White a question. What was the significance of the candlestick present?
Well, I had worked for a family before I went to work for the judge, and they had a terrible fire, and when it was all over, they all got together and accused me of starting it.
Tony and Fiona have 3 suspects left here.
Mrs. Peacock, when you were talking to Colonel Mustard and saying to him, I don't care what you do, I just don't want all this dragged up, what were you asking him to do?
I was going to leave that entirely to Mike. I trust him implicitly as to how he would deal with it.
Trudy and Leslie.
Yes, Reverend Green. Why did you come in the back door? Why did you sneak in the back door?
Well, I've known Mrs. White for many years. I've been in the parish for 15 years. I often come in through the back door. It's the nearest way through from the rectorate to the house, to say.
Tony and Fiona. Go on to Miss Scarlett.
When Santa came into the library at the end, where you had a gun in your hand, where did you get the bullets from?
My father kept bullets. We never threw them away.
And I think it's time for you 2 teams to make a deduction. Who did it, with what weapon, and in which room?
Well, I still think that it's Colonel Mustard, and I think that it's in the dining room, but we have changed. We now think that it was the candelabra.
In the dining room.
Trudy and Leslie?
Well, our deduction is that Forrest was not Forrest. The chauffeur was Forrest, because Forrest himself didn't know his way around and the chauffeur was more at home. That he was killed in the kitchen with a candelabra. That the Santa Claus was Colonel Mustard that came through, that met up with the Reverend Green and with Professor Plum. Colonel Mustard was dressed as Santa Claus when he met...
Colonel Mustard did the deed with what weapon?
With the candelabra.
Which room?
In the kitchen.
We haven't changed our minds.
I have to say that you're both wrong on all 3 counts. Which, in effect, eliminates Colonel Mustard from further inquiries. But I wonder, how are you doing at home? Do you think our detectives are on the right road? Clearly they're not. Or are they actually missing the mark by a mile? We're trying to find out, remember, who killed Ken the chauffeur and why. And I can reveal that some fascinating new evidence has suddenly come to light, which may help our 2 teams, or perhaps may even hinder them. We start as Miss Scarlett is escorting Richard Forrest from the library on his guided tour of the Grange.
Oh.
Yes?
Well, I thought this was... but it isn't, is it?
It's Mr. Forrest. This is Mrs. White, our housekeeper.
Well, I never would have. Of course, it was a long while ago, wasn't it?
Mrs. White, how nice to see you again. Oh, excuse me.
I heard him telling Mrs. Peacock he's got diaries.
Diaries?
His father's diaries, telling everything. He wants this house, if he doesn't get it, we're all going to be exposed in the newspapers.
other events that were happening in the house that evening. And remember, our earlier investigation has already ruled out Colonel Mustard. So in this round of questioning, each team is allowed 45 seconds at a time to ask as many questions of as many suspects as they can. But at the end of that 45 seconds, the opportunity to cross-examine then passes to the other team, and so on. And once again, to decide who goes first, a test for your powers of observation. Tony and Fiona, in the study there was a phone. What colour was it?
Black?
Black.
Trudy and Leslie?
White.
Correct. So you have the right either to go first or to pass that advantage to the other team.
Mrs. Peacock, when you brought the house from the judge, did Richard accompany him? Did you meet Richard as an adult?
No, I've never met Richard Forrest before.
That afternoon that he arrived?
That's right.
Clock is against you, Crip.
Mrs. White, you knew Richard when he was 11 or 12. Did you recognize him when he was sitting in your kitchen posing as the chauffeur?
Well, I was terribly confused that evening. I was very thrown when I was given that candlestick, and I was
Mrs.
really...
White, sorry, before that, you
That's
saw...
it, I'm sorry. Trudy and Leslie, 45 seconds.
I want to know, was it you, Colonel Mustard, who was in the Father Christmas outfit at the end?
Well, of course it was. Should have thought that was obvious.
There you go. 45 seconds, remember.
What I want to know is, to Mrs. Peacock, why you assumed that it was Mr. Forrest at the door when he hadn't introduced himself. It could have been...
Well, I had received a phone call from him saying he was going to call.
Dressed as Santa Claus?
Well, that's why I was slightly puzzled for a moment, as you might have noticed, but I mean, I like to think I can deal with any situation.
You've never met him before, then? Recently?
No, but I was expecting him.
But have you met him before,
No.
since he was a child?
No.
You haven't?
5 seconds left. One more question, quickly. That's it, Tony and Fiona. 45 seconds.
Sorry for suspecting it was you in the first place, Colonel Mustard, but could you tell me now why were you dressed as Santa Claus?
Well, at that particular juncture, the day hadn't gone awfully well, as you'll have gathered. And I had seen a certain young man off the premises. And I was looking for the other young man, so I thought it best to don the Father Christmas outfit.
He just likes dressing up.
Yes.
Quick.
Oh, there's something about the Reverend Green that... what is it that why should something that happened so many years ago over just money missing? What was it that bothered you so much?
We were raising money. I was posted to a parish in Liverpool, in Dingwall, and we were raising money for the church bells, and someone went missing, and two of the boys were accused. I'd be grown up by now.
Trudy and Leslie.
Miss Scarlett, I have a question for Miss Scarlett. Why did you shriek the abuse at Colonel Mustard? What was the reason for that?
Because he's had an affair with my stepmother.
How did you know that?
Because she told me.
When did she tell you?
When I went to ask her if she was really going to marry Professor Plum, she dropped that bombshell.
Right, well,
on me.
Professor Plum, why were you under the impression that Mrs. Peacock would have married you?
Well, we met about 3 years ago when I moved to the village, and we met on many social occasions. I thought there was an understanding between us, and I thought
Did
it
you
was
know
rather
that
a
she
good
was having an
marriage.
affair
That's
with
it.
Colonel
I'm
Mustard?
afraid your time is up on that round. It's time now. You've interrogated all 6 suspects in that particular schedule there. Time to make a deduction, please. Who did it, with what weapon, and in which room? And remember, Colonel Mustard's already been eliminated.
Yes.
Well, I now think it was... no, I think it was the Reverend Green. Yes, the Reverend Green with the rope in the kitchen.
Why?
Because he has known Mrs. White for many, many years, and in that last bit we saw, they were talking about we will be exposed. So he knows why the candelabra upset Mrs. White.
The kitchen has
And
actually
he's
already been
protecting
eliminated,
her,
by the
that's
way.
why.
The kitchen is out.
Oh, the kitchen's out.
Madam,
Oh.
Trudy and Leslie.
I live by the 10 Commandments.
It's Mrs.
Thou shalt not kill.
It's Mrs. White,
I know, but it's
Mrs.
terrible
White.
thing to say, isn't it?
with
Thou
the
shalt not-
knife
No,
in the hall.
no,
Mrs. White with the
never.
Trudy and Leslie, you're right on one. Tony and Fiona, I have to tell you that you're wrong on all 3, so the Reverend Green is eliminated.